Are wild turkeys losing habitat? In short, I'm going to say no. The clip you just saw was of all natural, wild quail, a whole covey. I'm very fortunate to be able to hunt several properties in the state of Georgia. One in particular is approximately 225 acres in the Piedmont region of Georgia. Now, I've been hunting this particular property for approximately 22 years, so I've been able to monitor it. I've hunted it every year for that time span, and so I've seen the populations increase in certain species and decrease in other species. And I think, from what I understand, it's a pretty good barometer for the large region, the Piedmont region of Georgia. I have other friends that hunt in the same region, other areas of the region, and I'm always getting their input as well. Now, with the housing boom and the drastic increases in lumber prices, there's been a tremendous amount of logging going on, particularly in the Piedmont region of the state of Georgia. And this has been going on for approximately 5 to 7 years as far as heavy logging. When the prices are high, many farmers, many landowners want to get their product to market and take advantage of those high prices, even if their trees may or not be at the level of maturity that they need to be. They might even harvest them a few years early to take advantage of those high prices. So this particular property that I'm on, approximately 150 acres, I believe, were completely wiped clean. I'm talking stripped. And this has been the case for many properties around my area. So the first year or two of as far as that, right after they cut and then they replanted the pines, populations were pretty sparse. I mean, we had deer, but they were a little skittish, of course, getting out in the fields. But now we're in the third and fourth year after the cut, and we are seeing a tremendous number of deer, more deer than I have ever seen. For example, on one of my last turkey hunts, I saw one group of approximately 10 deer, one group, one evening, all together, following each other. And that's the most I've ever seen in one group on the property. So deer population is exploding with the cut and the undergrowth, the thick vegetation that has taken over where they've cut the timber. Now, I'll also say I've seen a resurgence. We've talked about this in the other videos as far as the turkey population declines. I've seen a surge of predators, bobcats, coyotes, possums, armadillos, raccoons, also predators of the sky, hawks, falcons, and like birds, owls as well. Now, something interesting is that, as you saw in the clip at the beginning of the video, we have seen a quail population boom. I've seen wild quail in my lifetime, but it was one here or there. Never on this particular property. I've never seen one on this property. But if I saw one, it was rare, and usually just one, maybe two I might see. But we are seeing coveys of quail all over this property. You cannot walk down a dirt road without jumping a covey of quail that is just off the roadside. And much less if I were to walk out through the thick, I'd probably jump covey after covey. Now, none of these quail were planted, completely all natural. These quail migrated to this property all on their own free will, completely natural. So it's kind of strange. We've seen a quail population boom while we've seen a turkey population decline. So I would argue that it's definitely not the habitat, because they have the best possible protective habitat that they could ever have. Because if quail are thriving, turkeys would definitely thrive in their nests. Okay. Quail nests are also on the ground, just as susceptible as turkey nests are on the ground to nest predators. We've talked about this in previous videos. Now, people say, well, what about all the building, all the land clearing? Well, yes, there is a housing boom, but most of those homes are being built in cities, on the city outskirts, city limits, suburbs. That's where most of the homes and apartments are being built. But absolutely, habitat is going away in those areas. No question. But in the rural areas, there hasn't been much of a change outside of the logging. Now, after a year or two, once that undergrowth takes off again, and it absolutely does after a year or two, they have the best habitat imaginable. And in most areas, from my observation, they're still logging, but there's been enough logging over the past 5 to 7 years to compensate for the logging that is still ongoing. Now, from what I understand, lumber prices are on the decline, so we may see a slowdown with the logging for a time. So, back to the turkey population decline. If they're not losing habitat, what is an issue? We've talked about the various predators, which I absolutely believe are playing a role. There's no question there. We must do our part to take out the predators, no question. However, when I see the quail population thriving, but then the turkey population declining, the quail are just as susceptible to the predators that we've discussed as the turkeys are. What are a couple options? Well, one, there's been, and not just the next two things I'm going to talk about have been mentioned in previous comments on the last two videos, but also I have friends and friends of friends who also have talked directly with Department of Natural Resources here in the state of Georgia. One has been discussed, well, baiting of corn for deer has been legal for a couple of years now in the state of Georgia. Turkeys are definitely ingesting this corn. Are they not metabolizing this corn correctly? We know this corn is most definitely not non-GMO, and it's definitely not organic corn that we're getting in the feed sacks to fill corn feeders and disperse on the ground. And most of this corn is definitely not being grown from the earth. I mean, there are farms, of course, there are exceptions to that, but most people hunting that are baiting with corn, they're just buying it in 40 or 50 pound sacks, putting it on the ground or in feeders. And so are the turkeys not metabolizing this corn? Or is it causing health issues with them? That's something definitely to look into. But something that has definitely been discussed in previous comments, and I'd say number one that DNR needs to look into, and I think that they've already been looking into it, because it's been said that DNR know about this, but they've just not really made it known to the public. And that is, the chicken industry is absolutely mega big, mega money. So it's been said they don't want to address it because it's one of those things that there's so much money behind the chicken industry that it would be fighting a losing battle. And we're getting at the manure, the chicken manure that is being spread by the farmers on fields, basically is containing bacteria. The turkeys go out into these fields to graze, and they are ingesting some of this bacteria that is dispersed through the chicken manure. And the chickens are not affected by this bacteria because they have the antibiotics and other antibacterial agents that they are ingesting to combat the bacteria, but the turkeys do not have this. So they are getting the negative hits of that bacteria into their system, and supposedly that is one of the things that is killing the turkeys. Now again, let me repeat that. Chicken manure being spread on farmers' fields, it's a cheap, inexpensive fertilizer that farmers use to help increase the yields of their crops. It's coming out of the chicken houses. Chicken houses are everywhere. Nearly every town, especially in the Southeast, has anywhere from 3 to 7 chicken restaurants specializing in chicken products. And they're pushing those out and making mega money. So there's a lot of waste in these chicken houses. Farmers are buying it cheap, maybe even getting it for free, because the chicken farmers got to get rid of the chicken manure. They're moving it to the farmers and they're spreading it on the fields. Turkeys are grazing, getting bacteria in their system. The same bacteria is not affecting the chickens because the chickens are getting antibiotics or some type of other supplements that are combating the bacteria on their end, so they're not affected. Turkeys are not getting the same antibiotics or supplements to combat that bacteria, and it's killing them. So I have heard this through friends of friends, and supposedly this is information straight from the DNR. I have not heard this specifically directly from the DNR. I've seen it in the comments. I'd like to know your input on it. Comment down below on this and the idea on the corn, what your thoughts are. What are your further thoughts on the habitat? Have you seen a lot of logging in your area? Have you seen increases in the quail populations? Tell me what's going on with the turkey population in your area and the habitat, and your further speculations on the decline of the wild turkey population in your area. And check out some of the other information down below in the description. And we thank you for watching. Hit subscribe, thumbs up icon, share this video, get the word out. Thank you.